art is quite abstracted and in your mind it's very imaginary in a way what you're doing, and can be like you can be very far away somewhere, and then I pick up Marlene from the kindergarten, for example, and she sort of brings me back to the earth, you know. This is the painting, the image that I'm going to paint. I think I'm going to start with this sunset. I like it because it gives me an excuse to paint quite a kitschy sunset landscape, so I'm going to start with that, I think, and it's nice and intense, and I just have to get down like the color.
Hi, ich glaube, ich bin da.
The Bravo was like produced every week until 2015. So there was a lot of these stories made, so they must have been quite quick, you know, the production of them. And that's what I like about the images, that they're often sort of improvised. They have an improvised feeling, and they have that feeling of like, okay, we're just going to use this bed that's already there, and then things go a bit, they're not perfected in a way that we're used to now. Like even here, there are bits where I'm like, oh, they could have hidden that a little bit, but maybe that's the attraction. Photo love story. Lass mich niemals allein. Never leave me alone, or never leave me. So this is what it looks like. So it's like a comic made with like staged photography. I like the images because they have all this sort of like narrative drama going on, and it's specifically set up to tell you a certain dynamic or like create tension or something. These are people that aren't actors, they're told like, okay, now cry or look emotional or run away or something, and they have to like embody that thing for the first time maybe in their life, and I love all of those levels to these images. Usually I want to have some areas that are very fresh and like open and transparent still, and others that are more thickly painted and detailed. So that's why I'm painting not in a sort of flat manner. Some people might like put down one color if they did this. Like they might put down a mid-tone of orange or yellow or something and then go over that. And I'm sort of working in a sense that it might work to have certain areas like this just one layer. You can see there that I've printed out a lot, and I went to the archive and I've got a lot on my computer, and I like sifted through it, and I printed out way more in a mad way than I ever made. Here's this one. So you can kind of see that I think I do something to the image when I'm painting it, even though it's quite close to the thing, but the colour and handling in the painting is something else. It's just a something else, like a glowing, moving. There's a gesture, of course, with painting. You see a brush. But you know, when I chose the image, I wasn't like, oh, I was attracted to it, but as I paint, I figure out what I'm gonna go for. You know, maybe I thought more about the sleeping girl, and now I'm thinking more and more about how I'm gonna really spend some time on the clouds that are like dark orange and a bit opaque, and then how like the light's gonna come from behind and stuff. So you develop like your zones of where you wanna focus and where you wanna dive in. I'm going to move this. Yeah, I find that the best result comes when I stop thinking about it as like a face or a wall or something. I just have to, like, really, it's a strange like focus and non-focus at the same time. You have to kind of forget what it is you're painting for it to become not so illustrative or boring or something. It just becomes like an integrated whole if I do that, rather than a separate entity here, another idea here, another idea here. I want to have it like flowing. So it has like, you can kind of shift between seeing it as a visual or having a visual experience of color or bases or something. So that's how I'm sort of trying to paint as well. The way I paint, I wouldn't know how to describe it. I think it comes sort of naturally, and sometimes it doesn't. I can't pull it off because I don't really know what it is. Like, it has to stay a little bit mysterious to myself, actually, what it is. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. And when it doesn't, it's dead somehow. And I'm like, what am I doing here? I'm just copying this image. But sometimes the painting process, the distortions that happen in color and form and texture somehow like bring the image that was dead on the photograph to life. I bought some new brushes, especially for this too, actually, because you see, this is what they end up looking like. But I really like sort of the texture that comes out. Like, you have, when you look from the side, some things are matte and some reflective, and it just reminds you of like the object of the painting rather than, so you can kind of get sucked into the illusion of the space that it's depicting, but then you get reminded of the surface. And also it has like different connotations. One is like the grain of analog photography somehow, and that blurriness, that it makes everything I paint a bit blurry because it breaks up the line, you know, with this structure. In Germany, it's very typical to have Raufasertapete, which you see here, and it's really out of fashion. Like, it's not what you would put on now, I think, but it's still being used. And it's at that time, you know, and like, I think the 80s, it was everywhere. And when I tell you these things, that it has this association or that, it's because I've been thinking about why, you know, like, why did I choose that? But I really trust my intuition, or I try to trust like an intuitive decision. I just have to feel like I want to paint that, you know? When I see it, I want to feel like, oh, that would be fun to paint. So I'm going to try and get this red from the blanket now. So you see, I've got like an outline there, but I'm not going to be too careful about it. I think the color's quite nice. It's very thin. As you can see, what I was saying about lean, it's like super transparent. And then later I'm going to leave areas like this maybe to make it look like light's reflected off it, and then other areas I'm going to deepen a bit more. I'm still not sure about the writing, but I'm going to go with it. I don't know if it's in the genes or something, or if it's just what you learn and what you're encouraged in, but I've always liked to draw, and I've always been kind of dreamy, like as a kid, you know? I knew I wanted to do something creative, but for a long time I did think it should be something else than painting, just to do something else than my parents, so I thought I would go to film school. That's why I guess I'm still interested in like filmic sort of images as well, and narrative and story, but I still often, when it doesn't go right, I feel like, who do I think I am? I've forgotten everything. Every time I paint again, I'm worried that I've forgotten how to do it and what I'm doing, and I've so I'm still have very strong worries about if I really am a real painter or a real artist or something. So yeah, every time I paint, I have to sort of prove it to myself.
Hey there, thank you for watching so far. Before we go back into day 2 with Babette, just a quick note in our own favor. We are currently crowdfunding our new magazine episode for The Way Home. 21 artists from across the globe on 340 pages, illustration, film, music and photography, all collected on the most beautiful papers you can find out there. It would mean the world. And now enjoy the new episode with Babette. How long has it been now since we last met?
Just a week, just one day over a week.
Yeah,
so it's Wednesday.
And you've come a long way.
Yeah, I had to hold back yesterday I wanted to continue because I've had a lot of fun with it. Like all these details, like you see I did the writing. It feels like I've been in there or something just because of the time I've spent like looking at every detail and sort of, you know, painting is like touching in a way. You've got this brush and you're sort of like stroking the canvas with it. So it can be quite intimate or a private sort of experience. So I do feel like I've maybe, for myself at least, I've infused it with a meaning, you know. I have something specific, of course, about like the time that they were taken with all these like posters and the Walkman and stuff, but at the same time there's an openness as to the story or the meaning or the atmosphere or something, and I choose that quite carefully. I'm not sure if this is like now what I'm going to do for the rest of my life, you know. It might be a phase, who knows, but I enjoy looking for images. That in itself seems to me like choosing the right image, finding it, looking in weird places that not everyone's looking anymore. That in itself for me is like a really enjoyable, creative sort of hunt or mission or something. Like it's quite, it feels fun. I've always been interested in like depictions in film and TV and tropes and cliches. So it just seems like now I'm like bringing those interests into my work more. Yeah, it is a departure from what I was doing before, but it sort of feels like I'm bringing in more things that I'm excited about or interested in, rather than, oh, I'm not doing something. I'm sort of bringing things from the world in, you know? But of course, when you're working from your imagination, you're also channeling things that you've seen.
Ich glaube, dass ihre Kunst 100%ig gesteuert wird, natürlich von ihrer Auseinandersetzung mit sich selbst, aber auch in der Begegnung zu anderen Menschen. Also ich glaube, sie ist eine, und das macht vielleicht auch diese Unmittelbarkeit aus, die sie immer wieder hinkriegt, finde ich schon. Sie setzt sich auf ihre Art und Weise, also ich glaube nicht analytisch, sondern atmosphärisch setzt sie sich ganz stark mit ihrem Gegenüber und mit anderen Menschen aus. Und das ist eine Riesenkraft.
If I look at the image, I can see that there's quite a lot of difference to the photograph, but I like I've caught the expression without having to like draw out everything. Like there's still softness to the touch of the brush, you know, that's really important. It becomes more alive if there's less definition and less sort of tightness. Like it lives or in the mind more. I don't know if I can control how other people will see this image, you know, like I have certain associations that I can't really name. I have a certain feeling about it, but it's impossible to control or really make people see that thing that I see. It's just my impulse to paint it that comes from, yeah. Like you're gonna see this differently than I am for different reasons due to who you are, you know? Yeah. And when you were born and that you're male and like what you've seen before and what happened yesterday, you know, like they're sort of projection, places for projection and imagination, yeah.
Es ist ein Suchen. Was bin ich? Wo kommen wir eigentlich her? Was hat uns geprägt? Wie sehen wir die Welt?
I'm simultaneously super present, and that makes me forget that I'm physically doing something. Yeah. Like you have to sort of forget that. That's why I was a bit self-conscious at the beginning. You have to slightly forget that you're doing the painting. It sort of makes itself. Yeah. At some point, when you're in the zone, it's sort of making itself. But it's actually in fact high focus. It sounds super spiritual or hippie or something, but I think it is like you are in a trance, ideally. And maybe I do believe that it is a bit spiritual in painting or magical in that way, that something goes through you that is not just you, and that's what the trance is. And ideally you're like channeling something. It has something religious, I guess, in a way.
Sie macht das so intuitiv. Sie macht das einfach. Und sie fühlt das. Sie fühlt die Power dieser Situation. Und ich glaube, das ist ihre Qualität. Und ich wünsche ihr wirklich, dass es nie ein Hobby wird bei ihr, sondern dass sie ihr Leben, das, was ihr Leben bestimmt, dass sie davon auch wirklich leben kann.
You really have to get your bus.
Yeah, I really have to get my bus. I'm so sorry.
Thank you for coming though.
Yeah, thank you for your time.
My hairdresser showed me this trick, but I can't do it really, because I would always blow in to get the fingers to come out, but then you have like, it's a bit moist in there. She did this, and then she would kind of press them out. But she got it, somehow it worked better when she did it.